3 weeks into the season last year, Deion Sanders and Colorado shocked the nation. 3 weeks into the season in 2024, I think they can make a ginormous statement.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borber. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team for free and available wherever, and I mean wherever, you get your podcast. We are also brought to you by just good vibes all around. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. Like I said, free and available wherever you get your podcast. We're talking about Coach Prime in Colorado making a statement. Last season, nobody expected anything from them. Their win total was at 3.5. And they hit 3 wins by week 3. They were 3-0. They beat TCU on the road. They beat Nebraska at home. And then they also welcomed Colorado State in the Rocky Mountain Showdown and beat them in overtime at home. And there was a lot of excitement around the program. They jumped all the way up to number 19 in the rankings before they were absolutely bludgeoned by Oregon. But I do think that by week 3 in 2024, they can make a huge statement and it'll mean something a little more this time around. Let me explain. You look at Colorado's schedule and just how it looked last season, and beating TCU, who I believe was ranked at the time, was a big deal. It was a big deal for Coach Prime. It was a big deal for the program. It was a big deal for everyone that was kind of rooting on their or assuming they'd have a downfall. Everyone was like, okay, TCU's fresh off a title run. They made it to the national championship game the year before. They're going to blow Colorado out of the water. And Colorado controlled that game tremendously. So then it was like, okay, maybe Colorado's better than we thought, or maybe TCU's worse than we thought. It's like, but Nebraska's going to come in. Nebraska's got a really good defense. Colorado's going to struggle. TCU didn't have the defense. And all of a sudden, Colorado blows out Nebraska, and it's like, okay, that's a little weird. Are they really good or what? Then Colorado State comes to town, and I think Colorado State had some early momentum. Obviously, losing Travis Hunter hurt Colorado a lot. But then they still won. And it was like, okay, this team is really electric. And then it just all went downhill from there. And so we kind of realized that their early season schedule was their early season success was maybe pumped up a little bit just because there was expectations that were so minuscule. But I look at their first 3 weeks of the 2024 season. They play a North Dakota State team to open the year. And I don't know why a lot of people are not taking this game as seriously as they should be. North Dakota State is basically, if you guys aren't aware of FCS football, North Dakota State is the Alabama of FCS football. They win championships routinely. It's what they do. Colorado is I think 9.5 point favorite. Let me confirm on FanDuel, our good sponsors over at FanDuel. But realistically, North Dakota State is always a good team. And there's no reason that anyone should be overlooking that matchup. Colorado is currently a 7.5 favorite. So they're favored by basically a touchdown, obviously a little bit more. So I look at that game, and North Dakota State is fresh off of winning titles every single year, it feels like. And realistically, if Colorado can handle them, like if they could blow them out, obviously a blowout would be pretty ambitious. But if they could beat them by double digits, that's a respectable win. Even if they beat them by, say, 10 points, that's a respectable win, because I think a lot of people don't really understand just how good they could be. Then you look at week 2 at Nebraska, hostile environment. Nebraska's going to be much better. Last year, Jeff Sims was playing quarterback, and Jeff Sims, from my knowledge, let me double check right here, is still in the portal, and he is someone who is likely not going to be a Power 5 quarterback again. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if people recommended that he switch positions in the portal, just because he is always struggling with accuracy. I think a lot of the times he has shown an ability to kind of be a dynamic quarterback, but he has just never shown the ability to protect the football. And so Colorado kind of took advantage of someone who has one season with double-digit touchdowns where he had at least more touchdowns and interceptions. So his freshman year at Georgia Tech, he had 13 touchdowns, 13 picks. Then it was 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. Then 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. And then last year, 1 touchdown, 6 picks. So he was obviously a very dynamic runner. I think that was the only reason they actually scored last season was because he hurt them with his legs. but they were absolutely clamping Jeff. He was 9 of 15 against Colorado for 106 yards, 1 pick. He did have a 60-yard or 57-yard touchdown run, which I think really made the game look more respectable than it was. I think Colorado was handling that. But with Dylan Raiola is a gunslinger. He is he's those prototypical quarterbacks that we're going to be seeing a lot of these days, where they're throwing off platform. They could throw from every arm angle imaginable, which it's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes influence. I would say maybe Kyler Murray influence a little bit, where these guys are throwing sidearm this way, that way, and all the others. Lamar Jackson does it well too. And we're going to see a lot more quarterbacks do it. Dylan Raiola is going to try and be the quarterback that kind of guides back the Nebraska program. But again, Colorado, if they are able to handily beat North Dakota State, say they beat them by 10 to 14 points, that's huge. North Dakota State is a team that's to reckon with. They're always good at running the ball, and Colorado struggled to stop the run last year, so that's going to be an interesting matchup. But you look at this Nebraska team; they have better quarterback play. Matt Rule, second year, he's known for taking those jumps in those second years. Excuse me. He is a coach that kind of, I feel like, and this goes for a lot of coaches. He gets his feel the first year, and all of a sudden, by year 2, there's a huge jump. So at Temple, he was 2-10 his first year, went 6-6 the following year. At Baylor, 1-11 the first year, 7-6 the second year, 5-7 this past year. So if you go with that, they're pretty much good for a 4 to 5 win increase. So Nebraska could be a 10-win team next year with good quarterback play. So if Colorado could beat them again, no matter what the score is, on the road in a hostile environment in a rivalry game that the two fan bases hate each other more than anything, that's a big win. And then you go to Fort Collins, you take on Colorado State, and realistically, I think Colorado should beat them by 20, maybe 22. I don't think there's a line on that game, but I feel like let's see if there is. Because honestly, Colorado is a team that I think last year a lot of people got caught in the like, oh, this Colorado team is like really fun and exciting. And it was like, but did they need overtime to beat Colorado State? Yes, they did. So they don't have a lineup for that game yet, unfortunately. But I think Colorado will probably be favored around 17 to 20 points, and I think they should beat that team by 25 points. That Colorado State team was horrendous last year. I think there's some added motivation. Jay Norvell is running his mouth. Always is. His wife is running his mouth against Shador. Whether he wants to admit it or not, he did take a shot at Coach Prime's mom. I don't think he meant it that way, I guess you could say. Like, I don't think when he said that statement, I think he was more so taking a shot at Coach Prime, more so than his mom, by saying, with the way I was raised. Like, I think he was kind of poking fun at Coach Prime and realistically didn't think of like, yeah, you're talking about the person who raised him. But I don't think that's how he meant it to come off. And if it is, then obviously he just fueled their fire. And I don't feel like Coach Prime is going to forget that anytime soon. And obviously he had his mom come talk to the team. And he even told Coach Norvell after the game, you meant that, you meant what you said. And so I think this Colorado team, if they blow out Colorado State, if they're able to beat North Dakota State in a handily fashion, and if they're able to win on the road at Nebraska, I think that's much more impressive than last season's 3-0 start. And I think that'd be a huge statement for Colorado and for college football to be like, oh, this Colorado team is a little bit different this year. If they have the defense, if the defense can improve, obviously if the offense line is going to improve, which I think both of them will, I think it's going to be a pretty big year and pretty big start to the year for Colorado, because obviously it's all about making statements. And what better way to make a statement than beat the same two teams you beat last year in more handy fashion and on the road, and also beating one of the best FCS programs that college football has to offer. So those are the ways that I think Colorado can make a statement. You comment below how you think Colorado will make a statement. Is it one game? Is it a certain statistic, like maybe Shador Sanders throwing for so many touchdowns or whatever it may be? Or is it just overall record? You guys comment below how you think Colorado can make a statement, and we'll discuss in the comments. When you come back, we are going to be talking about Xavier Weaver's pro day. He held that in Boulder today after missing the first one. I'm going to talk about how he did and where I see him going in the upcoming NFL draft. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live game highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us over here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. I want to thank you guys for all the support that you give me. 5,000 subscribers, 5 stars on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. It is greatly appreciated and does not go unnoticed. Thank you to my everydayers. Love you guys. Okay, we're talking about Xavier Weaver. He is preparing for the NFL draft, obviously, and he was not able to participate in Colorado's pro day, so he participated in a private pro day today, and he had a pretty solid outing, I guess you could say. He ran a 4.42 40, which is pretty fast considering. I think we're kind of immune to, or not immune, but I think we are blinded by how fast receivers are these days. So I think everyone's like, if it's not a 4.3 or 4.2, it's not fast. It's not the case. It's one of those things where you have to understand that these guys, all these athletes nowadays are faster than they've ever been before. And obviously we saw that with Worthy, running 4.21. But it is worth noting that his 4.42 would have been tied for the 12th fastest among receivers who participated at the NFL Combine. He also had a 37-inch vertical, which would have been the highest had he been able to participate in the Colorado Pro Day a couple weeks back. And then he also ran some routes and caught passes from the quarterback from the Colorado School of Mines. It wasn't Shador throwing him passes. So he's someone who is still looking to build his draft stock up. I think realistically, he doesn't have huge size. He doesn't have explosive, he's not the most explosive wide receiver, I guess you could say. And he's still viewed as a day 3 prospect. I think this is kind of the skinny on him. Strengths, acceleration, start and stop ability, route running, which is always a good thing. You can line him anywhere, meaning he can line up all over the field. And then he's a high IQ player. Concerns, size. He's someone that's viewed as role specific, and he isn't viewed as having an NFL size catch radius. So this is kind of the draft network breakdown on him. Xavier Weaver can align as an outside receiver or in the slot and create explosive plays as a route runner. He can accelerate/decelerate to get in and out of breaks and routes. This allows Weaver to create separation from defenders on short and intermediate routes. He also showcases a high IQ and how he understands how to run routes off coverage, understanding how to threaten defensive backs, cushion, and snap off routes to stay in uncovered areas while running routes. He has deceptive speed, so it means he's not the fastest, but he kind of sneaks up on you. His concerns as a player is that he's limited frame-wise, which may make him a specific role player. Weaver lack of size prevents him from being an ideal middle of the field player due to potential injury. He also appears to have a limited catch radius, which means most passes will have to be right on the money to get to him. He's, like they said, a day 3 with developmental traits, so they kind of view him as a project receiver. His best games that they noticed from him were or that they stood out were USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Nebraska. So I think Xavier Weaver is going to have a chance in the NFL. I think realistically, he's going to have to make the most of his opportunity. I don't think he's going to come in right away and be like the top receiver by any means. And I don't think he's going to kind of be drafted as such. I don't think he's going to be treated as such. I think he's going to be treated as a guy who needs to earn his way onto a roster, which they all do. And I think he's going to have to kind of prove what he's made of and kind of take the difficult route in the NFL, if you will. But hey, it'll be the first player drafted of the Coach Prime era, I would assume, unless someone goes before him, at Colorado at least. And he has a huge opportunity in the NFL. So best of luck to Xavier. Hope it all works out for him. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the latest transfer from the Sanders family, and should that incite worry in Colorado fans that Deion Sanders could be leaving. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel is making it even easier and more exciting to get in on the action because right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in which you could bet on anything. You can bet on the tourney, MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. Go look at the Final Four, the Elite Eight. Go put some money on Purdue, Zach Edey. He's a double machine. Put Purdue to win it all. You could bet on anything over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. It is Overreaction Wednesday, or Wacky Wednesday, if you want to call it, because people are getting a little too out of hand with the latest on Colorado sports. Shalomi Sanders, who is the daughter of Coach Prime, has decided to enter her name into the transfer portal and transfer to what will be her third school. Now, a lot of people are seeing this and they're like, okay, Coach Prime's leaving. This is the first step of many. I think this is a basketball player who is putting her career first. I think realistically, she wants to play. In her 2 years of college basketball, she's played in 7 games and has played an average of 2.6 minutes per game and is averaging a little over half a point per game, over half a rebound per game. And shooting 18% from the field. And yeah, she just hasn't had a lot of opportunities to play. At Colorado this past season, she played in 4 games. They were all blowout wins. She played against Oregon twice. She played against UT Arlington and then the Air Force Academy. So I think a lot of people are seeing this and they're like, this is the first step to Deion Sanders leaving. And I mean, by all means, may Deion Sanders leave after Shedeur and Shiloh declare for the NFL draft. That's to be determined. That is like my biggest, I guess, concern, you could say. He has no interest in coaching in the NFL. If he has a big season this next year, will there be a job out there in Florida, Florida Gators, that opens up that may be intriguing to him, or Miami or whatever? Maybe. But he says he likes Colorado, and until he shows signs of leaving Colorado, I'm going to trust that he's going to be in Boulder. It's kind of what you have to do. But as for his daughter, I think it's just her putting her career first. I think realistically, she is someone who wants to play. I think she was someone who wants to just play college basketball. It's one of those things where I think it's cool to kind of play at the same school that your fathers and your brothers and your whole family's coach at. But I don't know if this was like the best fit for her. She played, let me bring up her high school stats, or if I could find them real quick. No, can't find them. Okay. She has a nice 3-point shot during high school. She knocked down a lot of jumpers, but obviously just wasn't one of those things, and just isn't one of those things where every school is not a fit for everyone, I guess you could say. Realistically, she has experienced a lot of attention, being that she's the daughter of Coach Prime. But it's one of those things where, again, I think a lot of people are getting too caught up on this fact where it's like, that's Deion Sanders' daughter and she's leaving. I think you got to look more at her career arc. Maybe she'll find a school at the D2 level or whatever, maybe, where she can fit into the rotation, where she could play. Colorado was a team that they made it to, I think, the Elite Eight this past season. Like, it's not like they were a bottom of the barrel team. Colorado is a tough program to play. They made it to the Sweet 16, excuse me. And then Jackson State, they are a team that realistically, they had a lot of people that they had more experience when she was on the roster. We'll just put it that way. Jackson State this year, let me pull up their record. They made it to the NCAA tournament as well. Like, they were 26-7. You know, maybe she's just not a rotational piece on teams that are pursuing March Madness, like they're teams that are making runs into the NCAA tournament. Maybe that's just not where she fits in. I'm sure she will find a school. I think a lot of people need to pump the brakes on all the Coach Prime leaving rumors, because I think there's a lot to be said about how loyal he's seem to be. He said he moved his family out to Colorado. So until we see a reason for speculate Coach Prime is leaving, I feel like we should pump the brakes on that. That's just my take. You guys comment below what you guys think, because I'm sure people may agree or disagree. But either way, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We have 2 special guests coming up on Friday. Hint, hint. They do some notable film breakdowns over on social media, and you guys are going to want to check this out. Appreciate you guys.